Hey, folks, good morning. Welcome. Happy Sunday morning. How's everybody doing? Are you getting your coffee? Mine is still so hot, I can barely drink it. Let's check it now. It's been a couple of minutes. So, welcome to the program. Boy, I haven't talked yet this morning. It's so quiet around here. Everybody is out, out cold, out cold. Wife is still sleeping. The boy is still sleeping, and the two little girls are up north with grandma at her cabin. So right now, it's a pretty quiet house going on. I don't know if we'll see Raini this morning or not. She was not feeling good last night, so she went and crawled into the kids' bed upstairs. She has a thing about and it's not a wrong thing, it just affects her differently. She got to think about that tower out there. And the tower, which we had problems with last year, we lived on the other side of the tower. Then we moved into this big house, and now we're still equidistant on the other side of the tower. And that tower has all the 5G junk up on top, and it puts out radio waves. And of course, the modem is all down here in my studio, and the master bedroom's behind the wall behind me. And that those radio waves are much more intensive down here for some reason. Even though we're down in a basement, we're downstairs. Basement always makes it sound like it. That word makes it sound like it's gross and dank and full of spiders and ghosts and dead things. It's just a downstairs, and it's semi-finished, and as you've seen. And but we get strong radio waves. This room right here, the studio, that corner right there, the tower's right out there, about a distance of a half a city block away. But you're supposed to be at least a quarter mile from those towers for it to be safe. And now, of course, all of a sudden, we got we're living in a place where they build right under those because there's no law against it. And we're moved into a place. It's a nice place. We could live here, but we'd have to do things to the house to protect it from the radio waves. Now, those don't, as far as I know, I'm not affected by the radio waves. Rainy is. She's got all kinds of little stuff and little ticks and things, and anti immune thing, all that stuff. And so she feels it. It makes her shaky inside. It affects her headaches and stuff like that. So she can't be in here all the time. And so she had to crawl up and go into one of the kids' room, which is way over there on that side of the house, the farthest distance you can get away from the tower exposure. And she's upstairs and sleeping up there. She crawled up there because she's of her headaches and stuff. So she's thinking that the tower exacerbates all that. I don't know what do you all know about that? About the radio waves that come off of cell towers and things like that. I feel bad for my wife because she feels all that stuff. And so right now, recently, when she's been having these bad headaches, I'm like a bachelor sleeping in the master bedroom. So that's got to be remedied. Either we're going to have to, it's going to have to wait until we build or move or whatever we do. I don't want to move again unless I'm building a house. If all of you know how many times we have moved in the last 7 years, it's unbelievable. And we were at one place for 5 years, and then another place for a year, and now we're in this place, and it's like moving. It's the last thing on my list, things I want to do. How many times have you all moved? Do you enjoy moving? Do you like the process? Sometimes it's cool because you're getting into a new place, and you're like, oh, this is the better place we want. And so we don't own this house yet. We've been talking to the owner about buying it. It's just a rental property for her. But it's a nice place, a nice big house with a huge yard. And so it's kind of a nice place. What do you guys think about moving? Moved every 6 months as a little kid till I was 16, says Susie Q. What kind of was it your parents' jobs? Was it, voluntary? What was it? I hate moving, and my kids have experienced this moving. Now, we've stayed within the school district for them since they were all little. So that's been our goal. Whenever we've either had to move or wanted to move into something a little bigger, as you know, we were all in that nice townhome. That's where we were for almost 5 years. And that townhome, they ended up selling the properties. And they wanted they gave us a 6-month notice saying either you got to buy your property or you got to move out. And so we were going to buy it, and then it was way too much money. It was a side-by-side townhome. So you had somebody right on the other side of the wall. Really nice. We were on that corner lot that was up on the hill, and we had the huge corner lot, and we gardened there, and we landscaped the lawn and all that. We got permission to do all of that the time we lived there, and it was fine. And, of course, it wasn't going to be permanent, but we did look into buying the place. They wanted $420,000 for our 3-bedroom house, 2-bath, and it was nice, not quite big enough. Some of you might remember that place. And so we ended up moving out of there. We found the townhome that was a little closer to the school than that one was. We moved into that townhome. It was a little bigger. That's where Raini and I had the big studios and the big long room downstairs, totally finished basement. That one had 3 bathrooms and 4 bedrooms. And it was a nice place. Expensive, but it was a nice place. Then they said they were going to sell it. So we had to look for a new place. And that was after they renewed the lease. They just never gave it to us. They said, you want to still live here? Sure. Let's do it. I don't want to move. So she said, I'll get you the lease. And that dragged on for about 2 weeks. And she came back and said, you know what? We decided we're going to sell it. And they wanted a price. I didn't want to buy that place. I don't want to live there forever. So that's why we moved here. We found this spot. And an older woman that probably not so much older. I say older woman. She's probably not much older than me. Maybe 10 years older than me. And they own a huge 100-acre horse ranch about 30 miles east of here. And she owns this house. Doesn't pay much attention to it. Doesn't do anything. We have things that Raini and I were just kind of going through in our thoughts yesterday. We were out. We went to the big, the thrift barn over here where we like to go. It's like a big garage sale every weekend. And then we went and did some garage sailing while we had to stop and, run a couple of errands along the way. And we were talking, hey, if we stay here for a while, because I don't want to move, I said, what will we do to this house if we owned this house? And so we were talking about the things. We'd get this basement all totally finished off. It needs egress windows. It doesn't have any. This studio in the master bedroom, she couldn't list it as a master bedroom. She's still getting the same amount of money that people charge. It's $1,800 plus to live here every month. But the downstairs is technically not livable space. Even though it's finished off, it doesn't have egress windows, which is a law up here. I don't know what it's like where you live, but Field Guy says, I have footage of the tower before and after the fam stuff on top of it, the dam stuff on top of it. There you go. I didn't see what tower that was. By the way, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. Welcome, Field Guy. Saunders, welcome. Matthew Sainsbury, welcome. Susie Q, welcome. You live in Illinois now. I'm wondering if did you answer the question I had about any details on why you moved every 6 months? A 24-foot U-Haul full of fruit jars, worked construction in California, and then back for farming in Illinois. Oh, I get it. So, yeah, just job-related. Yeah. Dad's job-related stuff. I get that. Carlene Smith says, I hate moving, but looking forward to the move. And Carlene, we've talked to her a couple of times. You've seen her on this show and on Kenny's show. How she, they just bought a place up in Virginia, and they're trying to get out. Moving sucks is the bottom line for me. I don't like to move. When we moved into this house, because she had changed the deal up over there, where she said, we're going to give you you want a new lease? I said, yeah. And then she came back 2 weeks later and said, well, we're going to sell it, so you're going to have to move. And so in that 2-week meantime, we had taken some money, and Raini went up to Alaska to visit her sister and her sister's family. She brought Flynn with her. They went salmon fishing for 2 weeks. And so we spent a little of our extra money on her being able to take that trip. And so I told the a woman who owned the townhome we were in, I said, look, we're not even financially prepared to make a move. I said, I need some more time. And so she gave us, we had 6 weeks we took to move into this place. That's another thing about renting. Talking to somebody about renting yesterday. It's at the barn, the woman who runs the barn, the upstairs portion, kind of a thrift store thing in that barn setting. And she was talking about, she can't believe it's like $2,400 a month around here if you've got a family to rent a place. Now, the thing about prices going up on everything, it's because it's a rentor's market, meaning there's a lot of people are renting rather than buying, more people. And so what do? They can take advantage. Then they jack up the prices on rent because everybody wants a place to rent, not own. And so the prices have skyrocketed. $2,400 for a 3-bedroom apartment, townhome, house, whatever it is. And she was telling the story of a family that lived somewhere for 8 years. They were leasing. It was a farmhouse out here in the country with 4 acres attached to it. And they were paying $500 a month. You know why that is? Probably old farm couple said, it's all paid for. We just need to rent it out. We're going to charge $500 a month. Well, I don't know all the details of the story, but maybe it's the kids came in and said, no, you can get a lot more for that now in this market. They jacked the price from $500 to almost $2,000 a month. And maybe that's the going rate now, but you can see where prices are going. But the problem is when you're renting and the rental market is really expensive, the prices keep going up. But wages aren't going up that fast. So what happens? You all know we're all in the middle of inflation right now. Randall Flagg says, my friend had those towers in his backyard growing up. And he always had headaches. Changed when he moved. Yeah, I don't get the headaches from that anyway. I don't get headaches very often. So, we're still looking at wanting to build, like shipping container home on a few acres, unless we find just the right place out there. And Raini wants some acreage. She wants to have a pig and a cow and a place to grow a big berry patch and vegetables and gardening and mini farming, they call it. Speaking of a pig, we got a pig yesterday. Now, it's not a live pig. It was one of the dads of the kids who play with my kids. He has a few pigs. He has a few cows. He has horses. Lives on a little place. And that's not what he does for a living. I think he's in construction. But every now and then he butchers a pig and they sell them off. And he said, look, he said to Raini, in their course of conversation, she dropped our kids over at their place because they all wanted overnights and wanted to hang out and stuff. And he said, "If you want a pig, I'll give you one." And Rainey said, not just for the meat, but Scotty, she said, I bought him this tattooing kit and I want him to learn how to do that. And I got to get some pig skin for that. So she bought this pig and didn't buy it. He gave it to her, but she was there. Here's a story. I'm sidelining now. But she said she went over yesterday morning and she was going to he was going to butcher the pig and show her how he does it and clean it for her and send it home in a cooler on ice. And I think pig's about that big, not very big, young pig. And not much bigger, bigger than Lucy, 2 of Lucy's. So, I don't know what it weighs. I don't know how to figure that stuff. So I was supposed to go with her. And I was tired. I was up late the night before working on those illustrations for the Bible cards, Ancient Heroes, if you've seen the link to that. And so I went to bed about 2:30, something like that, because I was working. And she came to wake me up because she was because of the radio waves, staying up. I said, I don't like this, by the way, another sideline of my sideline. I didn't get married to be a roommate. I don't like the separate room thing, but she has to do it because of the radio waves. And I'm not moving the master bedroom up to it's a nightmare. I said, we got to figure it out. Let's figure it out and figure out what we're doing. So at the moment, I'm a bachelor down in the master bedroom. But she came to wake me up yesterday morning. I was out cold. So I didn't get to go, but she said on her way over there, about 2 miles from here, she said, I was praying. I prayed. She said, I prayed when I got there, and I prayed in my head when I saw the pig, and I prayed as he butchered the pig. And then she went on, and I said, wait, back that up. What were you praying about? And what was the content of your prayer? And she said, well, that, the pig wouldn't come and haunt my dreams and that he would go easily. And I said, well, did you bless the pig after you killed it? And did you cut out his heart and take a bite? And blessed to the Great Spirit? We should have Reuben here to talk about that. And she said, nope. And we found some radio proof things, Field Guy, by the way. $1,500 to buy a little box that's supposed to eliminate radio waves. And so Rainey looked at that and she read up on it, and there's a lot of people said it didn't do anything. Because you don't know what it's doing. You set the box up, turn it on. It's quiet. Just got a light on it. And how do you know it's eliminating the radio waves? What does it do to eliminate radio waves? What does that do to your signal in your house? So Susie has bacon dreams. Once a month we have bacon. Is it bacon from your own pigs? So do you have pigs? So pig skin is what they use for burn victims. Grafts cause the closest thing to human skin. Yeah, because it's the closest thing to human skin. Yeah, I've heard that too. So that's why she got the pig. She said we kind of laughed our way through it, the praying and everything. She said, I just didn't want to be grossed out. I didn't want the pig to suffer, and I didn't want to. I said, pigs are for eating. I said, unless you're Jewish, kosher Jewish, pigs are for eating. And apparently their skin is good for tattooing practice. So now I've got a carcass up in a cooler in the garage. And You open up the cooler, his little face is pointing up with his snout, blood on it. And then there's a big bag of a 20-pound bag of ice on top of him. But we gotta take care of that meat and stuff real quick. So that's gonna be today. I've never cleaned up a pig before for eating, nor have I taken its skin off before. That'll be interesting. I've plucked chickens and cleaned out chickens, but never done a pig. And that was only once I did the chickens. So this will be an interesting experience. Probably got to do that today. So that's automatically taking up my time today. Why are pigs listed as unclean for Jews? I don't know the exact reason of that, Remeldian. They were just listed as one of the unclean animals to eat. And I'm not quite sure why. Why are pigs, let's look it up, considered to be unclean for Jews? According to Leviticus 11:3, animals like cows, sheep, and deer that have divided hooves or cloven hooves and chew and their cud might be consumed. Pigs should not be eaten because they don't chew their cud. I'm not quite sure why that's a thing. Here, how about this? Here's a story of why the pig is considered taboo. And this is by Ishmar Shorsh. He's a rabbi. Herman. Here, I gotta turn up the size of this a little bit so I can read it. Here you go. This is for you, Remeldian, specifically for you. And anybody else who's interested. Why are pigs considered taboo? And the article is by Ishmar Schwartz, and it's Rabbi Herman Abrahamovitz, Distinguished Service Professor of Jewish History and Chancellor Emeritus of, I don't know what JTS is. JTS is the website. Torah, the story of the pig. And so, in 1922, Professor Mordecai Kaplan of the seminary facility confided in his diary, there can be no question that sooner or later Judaism will have to get along without dietary laws. Though that was 100 years ago. Though he personally observed kashrut both inside and out his home, and the pressure of the melting pot was definitely not conducive to keeping kosher. Kosher, if you see that, this means it's been blessed by a Jewish rabbi. And so how astonishingly different are the prospects today? In the fall of 1990, an observer of the kosher food industry in America wrote about 18,000 kosher products were then on the market, with ever more companies switching to the certification of new items. By 2002, there were 75,000 products that were kosher. And the industry has grown to a $6 billion market involving some 9 million customers who look for kosher products. And we live in a country where it should seem kashrut, word for kosher, has taken on a significance far beyond its role in the Jewish community. It's become a big thing. Now, I don't know when this article was written, but it goes up to 2002 with those numbers. Now, this remarkable turnabout, once one instance of the broad swath of Jewish influence on American life makes us far less defensive about Judaism's dietary laws. This author says, I was raised on the notion that abstaining from pork spared Jews from the dreaded disease of trichinosis. But unlike my father, maybe that was different, thousands of years ago, 3,000 years ago, 3,500 years ago, when Moses wrote the law. Was that a thing? You didn't eat pigs because of fear of trichinosis? My father, who scoured why we can't eat pigs, he says, I see the laws of kashrut as simply part of Judaism's God-saturated worldview. in an age when no self-respecting American would be caught without his or her food taboos, always subject, of course, to the latest research. Those of Judaism, at least, are ancient and sacred. And sometimes, and I've wondered about this too, some of that Levitical law stuff that you see might not be because it's anything special about it other than that it made the people special. God's chosen people, the Jews, they were special and they had special laws. And it's like, hey, don't go within 15 feet of a menstruating woman while she's menstruating. And because that's our chosen people, and that's a cleanliness law. Is it a dumb law? Yeah. Can you say God's law in the Bible is dumb? Well, some of them were like, that's kind of ridiculous. You know, there are people who have sex during menstruation. There are people who bathe together, take showers together during menstruation. There are people who eat at tables together during menstruation. Ryan Gale says, why would God make it oink taste so good and then ban it? There's a big question. Yeah, there's another big question there, Ryan. Why would God make sex so fun and then ban it in so many instances? Yes, sex is great. It's wonderful, but you can't do it here, 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 this way, that way, that way, that way, that way. That way's totally out. This and that and that and that. There's all these restrictions on sex. But he made it a real fun thing to do. There's a lot of questions. And, I hope God has a good enough sense of humor that he can handle my tongue-in-cheek questions. God, I got to ask you this. So if I ever meet God someday, I'm talking afterlife type of stuff. I'm like, God, thank you. Oh, God. But I got some questions. I just want to ask you. I just need it. So God should have tried it before banning it, said Ryan. Maybe he didn't. Maybe God just didn't like ham. How can you worship a God who doesn't like bacon? Yeah, maybe he did like it. He just said, you're my peculiar people. He says to Israel, I like ham and bacon. You can't have any. I don't know. I don't know what God's reasons were. So among the four-legged animals specifically prescribed are the camel, the rock badger, the hare, and the pig. So, folks, if you're Orthodox Jew, follow the law. You can't eat camel. I suppose there were a lot of those to be eaten in that day. You can't eat the rock badger. You can't eat rabbits, the hare anyway. And you can't eat the pig. And all of them manifest but one of two attributes necessary to render a land animal fit for consumption. The first three chew the cud, but lack a hoof of any kind. Not to speak of a cloven hoof, which is what the Torah requires. The pig, on the other hand, has a true cloven hoof, but it's not a ruminant. I'm not quite sure how that word applies there. The Torah does not heap any particular abuse on the pig, and yet it's almost universally known that the aversion to eating pork is one of the defining marks of Jewish identity when it comes to being a Jewish foodie. Often preserved when all the others have long been eroded. In the wake of forced conversion of Jews on the Iberian Peninsula in the 15th century, many Marranos refused to eat pork as one of the last signs of their secret loyalty to Judaism. That's a fact that's highlighted by the very meaning of the pejorative term Marrano, swine. And nothing illuminates more graphically the religious fault line that runs through Israeli society today than the periodic debates in the Knesset, their governing body in Tel Aviv, over the domestic breeding of pigs. And whence this visceral aversion? That's the question. Now, that also brings up the other question. Do you remember the scene where Jesus and the disciples run into the demoniac of the Gadarenes. And it said they went out on the boat, and they pulled in on shore, and there's a graveyard there. They run into the demoniac of the Gadarenes. Demon-possessed man in the little town there says, yeah, he's there. And according to one of the Gospels, there were 2 guys that were demoniacs. And that whole scene where Jesus casts the demon out, and the demon says, where will we go? And they go into a herd of pigs, and they drive the pigs off the cliff and into the water. So we're assuming of the Sea of Galilee, because that's what's in Israel. There's a whole story on that. We did a show on that once, how the Gadarenes, they've tried 3 different places or candidates on the shores of the Sea of Galilee in Israel for Gadara or the Gadarenes. But none of them really match the qualifications. Not close enough to the sea. You can see the sea from there, the inland Sea of Galilee. But not close enough for them to run off a cliff and into the water. And they all have ancient cemeteries attached to them. So the big question came, Shimka Yakubovici, who does the Naked Archaeologist, he's a Jewish man, lives in Israel. He does a lot of Bible type of historical archaeological mystery. Great show. Great. I've seen him do some. He did a full-length documentary with James Cameron, Titanic James Cameron, who produced and directed something on the Exodus. So Shimka is pretty big out there. But he has hypothesized that the boat they went out on was not on the Sea of Galilee, but rather the Mediterranean, which is the whole west coast of Israel is the Mediterranean Sea. And that they traversed to over in the Iberian Peninsula, what would be Spain. Today, there's a place that bears the same name of the Gadarenes. It's cliffs and all that. There's the ancient cemeteries there. But there is also a little town there that is a Christian town, and they claim that their roots go all the way back to Jesus having visited their village back 2,000 years ago with his disciples. And that's why they became a Christianized town. And that's the place where they travel to. People are like, oh, I can't believe that would. Why wouldn't Jesus hop in a boat and say, hey, let's travel along the Mediterranean shore and let's go? And they end up in the Gadarenes. That's one of the things he did. So that's very interesting stuff. Anyway, why the pig? He's going into the pig in Leviticus in his article here. It says, according to the Bible scholar Jacob Milgram, the abhorrence of the pig was widespread in the ancient Near East and predated the Torah, and many cultures considered it an impure animal, fit only for the sacrifice to the gods of the netherworld. Archaeological evidence from Canaan, there was no Palestine, it was Canaan, suggests that while the Philistines, detested by Israel and always at battle with Israel, used the pig for cultic purposes, the raising of pigs ended abruptly when Israel gained control of the country. And so and that's another thing about another case for Gadaz, I think it's called, the Gadarenes out in Spain, is that they didn't raise pigs in Israel. So a maxim from the book of Proverbs conveys the sense of revulsion for the pig missing in Leviticus. It says in Proverbs 11:22, like a gold ring in the snout of a pig is a beautiful woman bereft of sense. That's kind of funny. So you got the author of this proverb, probably Solomon, and he said, a beautiful woman who has no common sense is like having a gold ring in the snout of a pig. Milgram conjectures that the second criteria for an edible quadruped, chewing the cud, was specifically added by Leviticus to exclude the pig. So the absence of a hoof was not enough to eliminate the others. So by the time we come to the second book of Maccabees, authored perhaps as late as the 1st century, the eating of pork was deemed to be a betrayal of Judaism at the deepest level. So, foodies reigned the day there. Second Maccabees recounts the earliest recorded instances of religious martyrdom. And one of the martyrs is an elderly, respected scribe by the name of Eleazar, who refuses the command of the Syrian soldiers to eat swine's flesh in public. It says in the passage, he had welcomed death with glory rather than life with pollution, and of his own free will went to the rack. So in other words, the consumption of pork was equivalent to adopting the modes of the Greeks, which is the religious reformation the Syrians sought to impose on Judea by force. And so the destruction of Jerusalem by the Romans transformed the pig in the rabbinic mind into the symbol for Rome. Rome is the pig. And the emblem of the 10th Legion, which occupied the ruins of Jerusalem after 70 AD, was a boar, a pig, B-O-A-R. And after the defeat of Bar Kokhba in 135, the Emperor Hadrian turned Jerusalem into a Roman city. And according to the Latin church father Jerome, who lived in Bethlehem for the last 30 years of his life, he said, in front of the gate which led to Bethlehem, he, Hadrian, placed a pig carved in marble, signifying that the Jews were subject to the Romans. That's pretty interesting stuff. So, so memory of these facts may well have inspired a later midrash. It's the writings of the Jews, practice of the Jews, that associated the pig with Rome and its biblical progenitor, Esau, the brother to Jacob, Israel, sons of Isaac. What linked them all was the appearance of propriety. The Midrash connects the marriage of Esau at age 40 in Genesis 26, if you want to read it, with a verse in Psalms that portrays Jerusalem as abandoned by God, its walls breached and being ravaged by wild boars. That's in Psalm 80. So why should the psalmist in the book of Psalms alight upon the image of a boar? Because it's a master of deception. Puts out its cloven hooves to make you think it's kosher. Similarly, the Romans who oppress and plunder behind a facade of legality and justice are like Esau, who indulged in adultery for years, according to the Midrash, only to take a wife at age 40, like his saintly father Isaac, as if he had suddenly found religion. And so the symbol of the pig warns us against being taken in by surface civility and sudden conversions. So, Jews in the Middle Ages, according to one rabbi, the pig continued to serve as a symbol of Daniel's fourth and final kingdom in the famous prophecy by which the Jews calculated the hoped-for coming of the Messiah. We're talking about Daniel, same Daniel as Daniel in the lion's den, etc. And so Christendom, with its seat in Rome, was just an extension of the unrelieved cruelty of Roman dominion. And at the same time, however, it was in the German lands of the Holy Roman Empire that the pig as a symbol was thrown back at the Jews in the form of an obscene anti-Jewish motif. So from the 13th to the 16th century, Christian iconology adorned churches and public buildings with the scatological representation of Jews sucking at the teats of a sow. Jeez. The loving Christian church would do stuff like that. Believe it or not. Suckling at the teats of a sow. The one on the church in Wittenberg gained national notoriety when Martin Luther, in 1543, in one of his two virulently anti-Jewish tracts, fixed on it to prove that the pig is the source of the Jews' uncanny wisdom and power. By transforming an object of revulsion into an object of veneration, much as the infamous blood libel did with blood, the Judensau, the Jews' sow, Judensau in Martin Luther's language, as it was called, made Jews less the human and accomplices of the devil and matters of black magic. So we come back full circle from reviling the pig because it was sacrificed to the gods of the underworld to reviling Jews for their demonic otherness, which is rooted in the worship of the pig. So truth is often stranger than fiction, folks. The story of the pig as taboo and a symbol tells us as much about the course of Jewish history as about the value of the system of Judaism itself. And the road to hell is paved with the stereotypical images of the other. So now that you tell me that's not interesting, where the Jews got this whole thing about the pig. And it's Levitical law, and it's so bacon wrap chops for the 4th. Yes, Susie Q, pig on pig. I once saw a little cartoon meme. Shows a pig sitting up straight, and he's got his hind legs spread out. He's eating bacon. He's got a horrified look on his face. And the headline said, "Wait, bacon is what?" So, pigs will eat bacon. How cannibalistic is that? Let's see. You can still get a pound of bacon on sale for $3.99. I think we got some yesterday for almost twice that. We went to Aldi's. If you don't have Aldi's, you're missing out. Fair Oaks Dairy Farms, the Disneyland of hooved critters. This is Roger Rabbit. How you doing, Roger? I have 40,000 head of cattle and 3,000 pigs about 5 miles north of me. The smell is real. Yeah, you can tell a pig farm when you're approaching it. Definitely. So crazy. Who's messaging me? Uh-oh. Oh my God. I just got some horrible news. Folks, I'm going to share this with you. Uncle Dave hasn't been feeling well lately. And I mentioned that on my show this week. I haven't seen much of him. His brother, John, messaged me early this morning. It says, "Scotty, Dave is in the ER. He coded on arrival. They revived him. He's incredibly sick. And they told us he may not survive. He's up in CT and will move to ICU. This is about all we know at this time. We just have no idea at this time what's going on. Prayers are appreciated." Then that was at 2 this morning. At 9 o'clock, 9:22, so about 20 minutes ago, he messaged me again. Update. David, our Uncle David, has an infection that is incurable. He would require extensive multiple surgeries, but he's so ill that he wouldn't be likely to survive the first procedure. David is not showing recognition to family or outside stimulus. He's under comfort care. Wow, this is the first I'm hearing this. I'm going to write to John. Hang on, folks. Well, this is, yeah, Grumpy. That's horrible news. And they say his brother just said he's not responding or recognizing anybody. So conversations with him they haven't been able to have. Thank you, Romeldian. Thank you, Susie, Sandra, and Matthew, and everybody. I'm reacting to something I don't know all the information on. Mind goes to the most terrible place. Sorry, folks, I'm thrown off the show. Any further topic? So, I don't know anything solid yet, other than what I just read you. I don't know what state he's in, meaning what condition he's in at the moment. But 20 minutes ago, his brother wrote me and gave me that information. Sepsis, Susie says, is that what that is? Is that what you? I don't know what he's talking about. He said an infection. I know Dave had told me over the last 3 weeks he wasn't feeling very well. Yeah, Grumpy Stack thought it might have had to do with his parents. But so I don't know what kind of infection he has. They have procedures to fix it, but don't think he'll survive the first one. Doesn't mean he won't. Apparently not expected to. And it makes you think. I was just standing, was it this morning or last night? And I was just washing my hands at the sink. And random stray thought. Where would my family be and my friends if I toppled over dead from something? Why am such a morbid thought? Maybe it's a connection to what's going on with Dave. I don't know. I don't want to put him in his grave yet. We don't know yet. It just looks grave, apparently. So I was thinking, I'm not the picture of perfect health. I got my issues, but I don't think I have anything that's killing me quite yet. Knock on wood. I just got stuff. I'm getting older and I feel stuff. I woke up this morning, 6 o'clock, and I had a cramp that went from my groin down the back of my hamstring into my leg, and it locked up my calf muscle. And I slid off the side of the bed, and I did the whole, where you put your foot down because I'm cramping up like a Charlie horse in the calf. And I couldn't even get that foot down, and finally it released. Click, it clicked, and I dropped to the floor. And I had that pain in there. And I was thinking, I'm getting older. The things you can do to prevent that. Yeah, I got to get more flexible, but the older we get, the closer we get to death. Yeah, Randall Flagg. We have those. Yeah. Roger Rabbit, he says, holy crap, now all I can think is that Dave was a caregiver to his parents, his elderly parents, who's going to care for Dave? Now, Dave lives in Rochester, where his parents live, and Rochester, Minnesota is the location of the Mayo Clinic. So he's probably, I'll find out from his brother what's going on. Hey, good morning, Deb. Thank you. About my cramp. That's actually the minor thing right now. I just found out, for those of you joining us, Deb included, that Uncle Dave Potter, is in the hospital right now. Not responsive, not recognizing anyone. They say he has some kind of infection that he probably will not survive. So, everybody, if you would, offer up your prayers for Dave. Send out the good energy. And it becomes so cynical when it comes to prayer. Prayer is for the people that are offering up the prayer. Draw them closer to God, unify them. I've seen far too many instances when prayers are offered up in dire circumstances that anything has changed. I'm not saying it doesn't. It's just rare. I hope you're right, Roger Rabbit. Should be a burst of thoughts and prayers coming from the 12 of us here. Hopefully the universe responds to our intentions. There was somebody else yesterday. I'm looking. I've got, we all know Kenny Bellows had lung cancer, and he is right now, he's cancer-free after treatment. And that's great news. I've got probably my closest friend in the world, John Ward, who is undergoing chemotherapy right now for lung cancer. Hopefully he'll respond as well as Kenny did. And Uncle Dave. Uncle Dave's been a friend of mine for 30 years. You know where he got the name Uncle Dave? My kids. He was Uncle Dave to my kids. 30 years ago, my daughters were a year old. My twin daughter, my oldest. So they've grown up with Uncle Dave being there. Thank you, Matthew Sainsbury. Susie, thank you. Intention, manifestation. Susie's claiming a miracle for Dave. Let's all do that. And of course, none of us knows what's really going to happen yet. A 100, 200, 1,000 years ago, Dave may already have been dead. Deb says, I got a goodbye message yesterday from a wonderful person Gwen Rich sent me, and I've been so sad for her and her family. She's been misdiagnosed with cancer. I'm so sorry to hear that, Deb. Grumpy Stack says, my Cardinal just landed 10 feet from me. This is almost a daily occurrence. There's something about cardinals in our current spiritual mythology, if you will. I'll just house it that way. Past souls, past loved ones. I got to talk to Raini about this and the kids. We will see what's going on. I'm going to leave it. I'm in shock. And I hope it's for nothing. So, folks, let's claim that miracle for Dave that Susie spoke of. And I will see what I can do to find out a little bit more about what's happening. One way or another, I'll be back tomorrow night with Intrepid Radio. You can go to my Patreon page and see all about joining up to hear the shows. And I'll try to give you all an update. Here's to what's going on soon. So, Dave is family. All right. I'm a little bit of shock, so I'm not thinking right. So, everybody, send up some prayers and intentions for Dave. Let's hope that his purpose was not to leave us this soon. Thank you all for being here, and hopefully have some better news coming. So you all go out and enjoy your day, and live long and prosper.